Hello, we are the Robo Raiders, FTC Team 7129. Today we're going to show you how to rebuild a Rev Smart Robot Servo. Our team has found that these servos are very strong, but they do tend to strip out in some situations. So, buying a new servo, when these strip out, buying a new servo from Rev is about $30, but you can get from Rev replacement servo gears, and that is a very cost-effective way to keep your servos up and running. Now, some of the tools we'll need will be a small Phillips screwdriver. We'll need the servo gear sets as well. Lithium grease for greasing the new gears. The Rev Smart Servo programmer. And also, you might make a tool like this, and we'll explain what that's for in a little bit. Now we're going to talk about which gears go bad the most. So right here, I have an entire gear set. This is from a servo we've already replaced. And this is how the gears are set up in the servo. So primarily the problems arise between these two gears right here. So this one gear, it's generally going to be the gray gear right there, where it gets teeth stripped off. But most all the time it's going to be this main drive gear. That's what sticks out at the top of the servo. So the teeth on that strip out. You can see right there. We have an issue. And then additionally on this gear here, some of the teeth are stripped out there. Those are the gears that go bad. These two are almost never going to go bad from what I've seen. However, when you have a new set of 4, you might as well put all 4 in the servo so you have all new parts. Now we have to make sure that our servo is actually bad. So I've made these tools. This is an Actobotics type made by Servo City. Actobotics, it's a really good type of building supplies. This is the Rev servo horn and just a bracket that we put on that. And we can use this tool to tell if the servo is bad, because that's kind of important to make sure that you know your servo's bad before you go ahead and take it apart. So now that we have it on here, we can kind of spin it around. If you can hear that, it's kind of skipping every so often as the one main drive gear is spinning around where the teeth are stripped, it's skipping. So right here, right there, it's kind of loose on it, and that's not good at all. You can see all the play that's happening there. Very sure that is where the teeth are stripped out. Now we have to take apart the servo. There are 4 screws in the bottom here that you have to take out. They're very long. They go all the way down into this cap piece part of the servo. So we go ahead and take those out. I've already taken 2 of them out. You just have to unscrew them. And it's very important that you don't strip out the heads, because theoretically you're going to be able to use this servo for a long time. And you may need to rebuild it a few times. So once we have that taken apart, make sure you have all 4 of your screws. And now we can pull off this cap piece right here to unveil all 4 servo gears. So here's the main drive one, and then all the others are in there. One is stuck up here in the top. Sometimes that will happen. And now we can kind of survey the damage and see what is wrong with the gears. Now that we have the case off the servo and this gear out of there, we need to take the rest of the gears out. So this main drive gear here just will pop right off. It's kind of on a little tab right there, and then that goes on like that. So that's the main drive gear. Next, we would want to take this gear out here. It just slides onto a shaft right there. And then finally we can take this one out. Now this one gets tucked into the main drive gear off the motor, so you got to be careful with that. It doesn't just slide straight out. You have to pull it out. You have to tilt it and pull it out like that. Now we have just the servo motor itself and the body and the top case, and then all the old gears are there. the old servo parts, and then we can start getting the new gears ready to go and greasing them. So one thing that you need to be careful about, there's a very small pin that connects one of the gears in. I'll show you how that goes in later. But this pin does not come in the new gear set, so you need to make sure you get this cleaned up, and you need to make sure you don't lose that. Now we can clean up the servo. We just want to kind of get some of that excess grease out of there. You don't really have to get all of it, but you want to make sure none of the old dirty grease or metal shavings are still in there. This is where a lot of them are typically. You can kind of see it's kind of copper colored in there from these. What's very handy is that they come in a Ziploc bag, and so if you have several servos to replace the gears on, sometimes you might actually be able to, you get 2 or 3 servos where they actually have a good gear here and a good gear here, and you can actually use the old gears to replace the servo. That would be a possibility if you don't want to spend as much for the servo replacement gears. You can use them if you have other good ones to use. So those are the new gears there, and now I'll clean that up more, and then we're going to start greasing those. Now that we have all of the parts cleaned up and the old gears out of our old servo, now we need to grease the new gears. So this is the nasty, messy part. This is the this is the worst part. I hate it the most, but it's extremely important to do it right because you want your servo to last a long time and to be well lubricated. So I'm going to put a little tiny wad in my hand of the white lithium grease. Here we go. If it come out, there you go. Okay. Now this is what I found to work best, is to get it in there, and then you just take the first gear you'll do is this little silver gear, and I'm just gonna put that through it, and your fingers are gonna get so greasy, but that's why you have the paper towels, right? So make sure you get it all around the teeth. Get it kind of incorporated there in the teeth pretty well. And once we have that, we can kind of put a little bit on that top gear, but we won't be able to do much. We're just going to put that right in to that servo right there. So now you can put the pin in. So that little pin goes right into the center of that gear, and then it's going to mate up with another hole on the other side. Okay, did that get in? Mm-hmm. Okay. So now that's in well. Now we'll take this next one here, is the next gear in the line. It kind of looks like a nice little birthday cake or something like that. Now we have to grease that one up too. Same procedure on that. We're just going to go ahead and get the grease on it nice and well. That was a little bit too much. Okay, that's good enough there. And that one goes right here on that peg right there. Just like that, and make sure you get the teeth lined up, and now you can see that it's turning there. Now the next gear that we'll do is actually the big, pick it up. So now we're going to use this one, and we're just going to kind of roll it in there. Okay, now that you have most of the grease off that, on that, take it in the rest of my hand, and still kind of spin the extra gear on the side. And that's good right there. That's no small. Okay, so now underneath, inside this gear, you'll see there's a little tiny little tab. Turn it up a little bit. Little tiny little tab in there, or a slot. You want to make sure that's lined up with the tab that's on the servo itself. So you can kind of see where that's at. And then we'll put it right on. That looks about right. Just make sure it kind of snaps in place. There you go. So now it's found home. And next gear here, this is the last gear. That'll slide right on there. We're just going to grease this one up. Again, this is the nastiest part, the least favorite part, but it's the most important part as far as keeping your servo to where it's going to last a long time with the new gears. Now that that one's good, set it right on there. Same thing here, you want to make sure that the teeth line up, and they did right there. And now that servo's ready to go. Next we're going to put on that cap, close it up, put all the screws in, and then we're going to try it out. Now that the servo's all back together and everything's happy inside, now we can test it out with the servo tester. This way we can make sure that the grease gets acclimated to all the gears and everything's running right. So let's plug this in. The white goes to the little tiny S, or if you're looking at that, it goes on the left side. Now we have to turn it on. And then we're just going to use the test setting to make sure it's working right. That's sounding pretty good. Okay, now I'm going to actually use this tool again and put it on here. I'm just going to put a little bit of pressure as that's going around. I just want to make sure it's not slipping at all and that it's still working fine. Then we can run it left and right. And that seems like it's working real well. So we should be all good to go. And that feels real nice and smooth, and it's ready to go.
Thank you for watching our video. We hope this was helpful. If you have any questions or need help with anything, we have a lot of social media, so you can contact us on all kinds of things.
So the camera kind of stopped recording, but we'd just like to thank you all for watching, and we hoped you found this tutorial helpful. Hope you all have a good day. Thanks. Also, sorry for my dog crying the entire video, but it's all okay. It's all okay.